So we're going to do exercise 923. It says retail inventory method, conventional and LIFO. But what are the retail inventory methods that I would like you to know that the author's covered? So retail means that you count the inventory, right, at the year end, and you value it based on your retail sales price. Because, you know, if you're at Kroger, they could count their inventory, the retail sales price is right on the shelf, and the inventory taker could just write down the retail sales price, right? Then you could take the count, the quantity, times the retail sales price, get that extension, add them all up, you get your total inventory at retail. Then what we're going to do is we are going to take a cost percentage times that, cost to retail percentage, and figure out what the cost is. It's just a cost of goods sold percentage, right? Normal cost of goods sold percentage is what we're after. So we get an approximation of what inventory would be at cost. Okay, but what are the methods we have for this retail inventory methods? Okay, so one of them is conventional, which is an approximation of lower of cost or market. So that one's going to give you an approximation, we think, you know, an estimate of lower of cost or market. So there's one, okay? Once you know that one, did you handle that? Okay, what's another one?
Average.
Average or cost, right? They call it cost, which is just an average. Okay, good. Okay, and then another one? LIFO. Now, the thing about these two is conventional and cost are sort of FIFO, sort of average, right? So your notes to financial statement, you'd probably say you were average, which approximates FIFO or something, okay? Or you can use LIFO, okay? And then there's one other one. What's that? Yeah, retail dollar value LIFO. So all these are retail. So let's do an example of each of these, okay? And dollar value LIFO works a lot the same way. You're going to have to adjust for the price increase, right? But we're still going to have the inventory at retail and convert it to cost, okay? So see how this goes. So on the first one, on 923, it says conventional and LIFO. Let's use that one for conventional, which is the same as lower cost or market, for cost, which is the same as average, and for LIFO, and then we'll do a different problem for dollar value LIFO. Okay? Let's use that one problem for all three, and let's look at what the differences are between them. Okay, so how do you want to set this thing up? Maybe with columns for cost and retail, so you can get a cost to retail percentage. The author does that on all of them. Do a cost column, a retail column. Okay. When you're doing these, they're not really too bad usually, but then under pressure it just explodes. So practice some of this, okay? Practice a lot. Okay? All right. So what are we going to do? We start with the beginning inventory, right? And then we'll add purchases to it. Okay, so the first method we'll use here is cost or average. Let's go back and do one other thing first. What's the big difference between these? In order to get a smaller or larger cost of retail percentage? What do I want if I want lower of cost or market? If market's lower than cost, that would be a smaller percentage to take times it, right? When would, right? Times the retail to get a smaller inventory. When would you get a smaller percentage? When you include what? Markups and do not include markdowns, okay? So this you include markups. I'll say only, okay, only markups. Okay, and then also, okay, and what if there are markup cancellations? What does that mean? Marking up is what? I marked up my sales price. I increased my sales price. That's all it is, okay? It's high demand, mark it up, right? Seasonality, mark it up, whatever, okay? There's a big heavy snowstorm and you sell snow shovels. Yeah, well, and they do it, right? Raise the price. Okay, what would be a markup cancellation? You lower it back down. So what I would do if I were you guys is I'd take a markups less than markup cancellations and I've got the net. The author shows it both ways, but I just do the net. Just take the difference between them. Okay, markups are increasing the sales price. What does it do to the cost? Nothing. You just change the sales price. What's marked down? It's a sale. I'm lowering the price. Right? So I subtract that. What's a markdown cancellation? I raised it back up. So just take the difference between those two and get the net markdowns. That makes sense? Does that affect the cost? No. It only affects the sales price. So a lot of this is just keeping straight what affects the cost, what affects the sales price, so therefore what's going to affect the ratio, right? Cost to retail ratio. Good. All right. So if I'm just going to do an average, right, cost, I'm not going for lower of cost or market, what would it be? More, it'll take more time. Yeah, you got it. That's the big difference. Markups and markdowns. That's it. Okay? Everything else you run across, before we're done, we'll go back to that page we did earlier, those of you who were here. Everything else you go to freight in on this example and estimated theft on this example, those you're going to have to decide, do they affect just cost, just retail, or both? So everything we'll look at it that way. All right? But for markups and markdowns, it's only going to affect the sales price. That's what we're marking up and down. What do we do different for LIFO? We include both markups and markdowns, right? Okay, this is both also. Include both markups and markdowns. Both markups and markdowns. But what's different about LIFO?
Separate the beginning and
Yeah, that's it. And we knew that anyway, didn't we? Because we've been doing it all along. You separate the beginning inventory. Keep it as a layer. Why do you do that? Because it's the last one you deplete, right? Sell the new stuff. Last in, first out. Remember when that used to be hard, right? Okay, which one you keep. So you're getting there, guys. And then on dollar value LIFO, what's the big difference? There's inflation or deflation, but typically inflation is what? It's going to give you an index. And what you got to do is take the index and get back down to the base year. And then after you get back down to the base year, then you take the cost of retail percentage times. Okay? Sound good? So let's give this one a shot. Now here, this is not LIFO, so I'm going to combine the beginning inventory. It'll be an average, right? I'll combine the beginning inventory with the purchases and get one cost of retail percentage. Okay, so I start with what in this problem, guys? Cost is how much? Retail. What is their beginning cost of retail percentage? Here we won't use it. When we get a LIFO, we will. 70%. That means something I bought for 70 cents sells for $1, right? Next way, right? 70%. Okay, cost is 70% of the sales price. Then what would you probably add? I mean, they're usually, the problem is put them in order, but if they didn't, who cares? You know, if they gave you it in a narrative, it would make a difference. Okay, actually, I guess they didn't put them in order. They put sales revenue second, didn't they? Okay, what do you want to do next? They're not in order, I lied. Maybe they're not, no, they're not up. What would you probably do next? What I start with plus what I buy is what available, right? I'm working down to available. So let's add purchases, you think? Oh, by the way, would it be gross purchases or net purchases?
Yeah.
Net, yeah. Okay. It'd be net, wouldn't it? Net of what? Purchase discounts, purchase returns and allowances, right? We'd also add freight in, okay? So do they have any purchase discounts or they don't, do they? Purchase returns and allowances? So we'll talk about that later. Okay, so purchases were how much? 58.8. That's at cost. What is it at retail? That's what I'd sell them for. This is what it cost me, 58.8. I'd sell them for 81,000. Does everybody get the difference between cost and retail, what we're talking about? Yeah? You're okay with that? The cost retail percentage? It's just cost goods sold percentage. Okay? That's an important first step. And then what do we add? What about freight in? That's part of my cost, isn't it? Those of you who were here earlier, what do we say? That freight in is going to go on what? Cost. Only the cost. Why is it not going to go on the retail? Yeah, I'm not going to add to my sales price or subtract my sales price based on that, right? It just be my margin based on my purchases. Okay. So yeah, 7,500. Okay. Now what I have left there is sales revenue and estimated theft. What am I going to do with those? Sales I'm going to subtract after I know what's available, right? And estimated theft. Depends on how big it is. If it's normal, I'll just treat it like it was a sale, right? I won't adjust anything. What if it's abnormal? If I thought it was really, really big, then I'd adjust my retail and my cost for it, right? Okay, and therefore it adjusts my cost percentage. In this case, they gave us no cost, so what must they be assuming? They have 80,000 in revenues and only 2,000 in theft. It's just a normal, right? Not extremely material. Okay. Oh, and I skipped something. What about markups and markdowns? You better do those. And these could be net of cancellations. If you have cancellations, just net them, right? What would a markup do? And they show it in the retail column. They don't have to. You know it only affects the retail, right? So markups would do what? That's going to increase my sales price by 9,000. So if you said net markups, right, which they did, markdowns, net of cancellations, the levy, the reduction of sales price. How much is that? 1,600. And if I'm doing the average, I include both of them, right, guys? Okay, if I'm doing lower customer market, then I would only include what? Just the markups, not the markdowns. We'll see what that does with the percentage in a few minutes. Okay, so we're ready, aren't we? We got everything in here but the sales and the theft. We're going to treat the theft like it's just another category of sales, basically. Okay, so what do we have available here, everybody? Add them up for me. 14 plus 58.8 plus 7,500. Good. And what's 20 plus 81 plus 9 less 1,600?
108,400.
Okay. Okay, now, we're going to disregard this one, right? That just happened to be what it was last year, okay? Because we're not keeping that layer separate. That would be LIFO. So we're just going to calculate for this one. 80,300 is the cost, divided by 108.4 is the sales price, right?
So why do we calculate only the 108,400?
We included everything.
Okay.
We included everything here. I did not separate the beginning inventory. That would be LIFO, right? And we'll do that later when we do LIFO. And then we keep the 70% later. So I don't worry about those 70% later. That's included. Everything's in it. That's why it's an average. Got it? Why do you think it's an average? So what's 80,300 divided by 108.4?
74.1.
So obviously their cost is going up, isn't it? Relative to the sales price. Not a good sign, maybe. Although they might have done it on purpose, right? Might have lowered their sales price relative to the cost to try to get more volume. Yeah, you could. Okay, then what do? Subtract your sales. And it'd be net sales. So we might have sales returns and allowances and sales discounts, right? You'd have to adjust for those too. Okay. And so what do we got? What was sales? 80,000. That comes out, of course, right, guys? I don't know what the cost is. I'm going to calculate that, but that's the sales. That's at retail. It's the sale, of course. Okay. And then what are you going to do with theft? Because we have a theft here. And we don't know what the cost of the goods were that were stolen. They just gave us a retail, so they must intend for it not to be abnormal. It's normal to have some theft. 2,000. So it's kind of like you had 82,000 sales, huh? So now where are we at, everybody? That must be my ending inventory. Does that make sense? Everything I have available, less what was sold and what was stolen, is what I have at the end. At retail, how much is that? 26,400. Okay? And what do I think the cost of it is? That's retail sales price. Take it times 74.1%. Do the inventory, do not do the cost over here. This part over here is going to be cost. Cost of goods sold, right? It's going to end up being cost of goods sold. It's the cost. If you want to separate the theft, you could take 2,000 times the 74.1, I suppose. You could do that. Do it that way because some of these methods, it won't work. This one would be fine, but on some of these methods, it won't work to do the sales and get the cost of goods sold and then subtract the cost of goods sold. So what's best to do is get this inventory first. I'm estimating the ending inventory here, okay? So what's 74.1% times 26,400?
19,556.
So could you tell me what cost of goods sold plus theft must be?
6744.
The difference between 80,300 and 19,556 is 67,744. 744.
44, yeah.
Okay. Got it. I calculated that last. Everybody see that? This is the one they asked for. You get that first, but then a cost of goods sold, of course, is obvious, right? Everybody good? Okay, so there's the cost or average. All right, that probably didn't answer that, so you wouldn't have found any answers, I guess. Okay, so then what? Let's switch it to lower cost or market or conventional and use exactly the same numbers. What's going to change? What are we going to do? We're going to leave these markdowns out and get our percentage before the markdowns. And then we'll still take the markdowns out. We'll just move them down where the sales are. So this is going to move down here, and I'm going to get a different percentage when I do it, okay? So let's give this a shot. Same numbers. Yay. Okay. So now we're doing lower of cost or market, which is also conventional, right? Okay, let's give that a shot. We're going to have cost. We're going to have retail. All right. Beginning inventory. What do you get here? Same thing. 14,000. 20,000. I'm just copying, right, guys? That's that 70% layer, right? We're not doing LIFO yet, so it's not really a layer. Add your net purchases. How much was that? 58.8. No big deal. 81,000. Once you do one. Freight in. Still only going to affect the cost. 7,500. Include markups, right, gang? Do not include markdowns. The markups are how much? We had 9,000 over there, didn't we? Okay, whoops. Wrong spot key. Come on. Confuse yourself. Okay, the markups only affect retail sales price. It's 9, right? Again, the freight did nothing to retail, didn't change sales price, and the markups do nothing to the cost, right? Okay, so now what do we have? Get this total, and we're going to use that to get our cost to retail percentage. So we still have 80,300 here, right? Because we didn't change anything. What's going to be different over in this column? It's going to be 1,600 more, isn't it? What's that, 110? And that's going to give you a what? Percentage of, what is the percentage?
73.
73. They made the problem work out, didn't they? Okay. But see, it was 74.1 when we had the markdowns in there. It's 73 without it. And what's that going to do? It's going to make your inventory less, right? So we get an estimate of lower cost or market. So now what do we need to take away from here? Make sure you do the markdowns. Don't leave them out, right? If you have any just one problem, it's not a comparative problem like this. You know what I mean? You might forget. Take the markdowns, which were how much? 1,600. We still have to get those out of there to get the correct ending inventory at retail. So we just moved them down. See, like I suggested here, just move them down. And that's all we did. They're out of here, now they're down in here. Then you still have your sales, and you still have your theft. No big deal. Just keeping it straight. It looks real intimidating until you start doing them, and it's not that bad. So now where are we? What do we have, you guys? Ending inventory. What is it at retail? It's 26,400. I'm sure it is. Same number. But what are we going to take it times? 73%. And what does that give me for an ending inventory, everybody?
19,272.
And then what's that going to be for sales plus theft? Difference between 80,300 and 19,272, isn't it? So now we've estimated this inventory with the lower of cost or market, right? We're doing lower of cost or market here. We did average cost over here. Okay? So what's the difference between 80,300 that's available at cost and 19,272 that you put in your ending inventory?
61,028.
Does it make sense that the cost of goods sold here would be more if we have less inventory? Right? 61 is more than 60,700. Oh, yeah. Of course it's more. Because your inventory went down. Right? 19.2, 19.3, I guess, compared to 19.6. Okay? That's all that's going on. Maybe we'll try to squeeze the other one in here. Okay, so you can see them all on one screen. Can you see that? Pretty good? Sorry. Okay.
So the only difference is you put the markdown
Yeah.
below.
Put the markdown down below.
Below.
But you do your percentage before including the markdown,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Then you still have to take the markdown out, get down to the right ending inventory. So you get the same ending inventory at retail anyway. But then that yields you a more conservative estimate, lower, right, estimate of ending inventory. Like it?
Yeah.
No. It's really rough, right? It's a sort of a proxy for lower cost or market. Okay, then let's try LIFO. What would be different with LIFO? Look at that one. We're going to separate the beginning inventory. That's it. So we start with the beginning inventory. Cost. Retail. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to have percentage over here. We did it on all of them. Cost of retail percentage, right? Okay. Do a percentage over here. Okay, what's the beginning inventory? 14. Right, guys? What's the retail? 20. What's the percentage?
7.
This time, we're going to use that, because that's our old LIFO layer, right? All right, then what are we going to have? All the additions. So now we'll do the addition. So we're going to have a new layer, okay? What's it going to be? Purchases? Net purchases. How much is that? 58,800 at cost. How much was it at retail? 81,000, right, guys? I'm just copying the numbers. Big deal. That's this one and this one, isn't it? Okay. Then what? In this problem, we got freight in. Let's add 7,500. That would only affect the cost, right? Wouldn't affect the other side. Wouldn't affect retail sales price. What are we going to do at the markups and markdowns? Include both of them. We're not doing lower cost per market and LIFO, okay? So markups, 9,000. Markdowns, and these are net, right? Net of cancellations in both cases. By the way, can you cancel more than the original markup? Of course not. Can you cancel more than the initial markdown? Original markdown? Of course not. So it can't be less than 0. Okay. All right. Then what? Add them up. Now this is for the additions, right? So 58,800 plus 7,500 is how much? Total addition.
6630.
Okay. 81 plus 9 less 1,600. What's my cost of retail percentage for the new layer?
75.
Okay, so the cost went up relative to the sales price. Everybody good? Now what do you want to do? Okay, subtract the sales. What you might want to do first is add the beginning inventory.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You don't have to. What you can do is subtract the sales, and if the sales are less than the 88.4, you're okay. You'll get your new layer. If they're more than that, you're eating into the beginning. So either way is fine. Are my sales less than 88.4? Yeah, they're how much were they? 80,000, and then 2 for a theft. So we can do that. Let's take away the sales, but remember, we're going to keep this beginning inventory, you guys. Don't forget it, right? We got that beginning inventory still. Okay, so my new layer, this would just give me my new layer. Which if you don't deplete the beginning inventory, this is fine. If you deplete the beginning inventory, then it's more cumbersome. Do it this way. So this is a little faster, really, if you're not depleting the beginning inventory. So you could look at it and see, you know, if that 88.4 is more than the sales, right? And the theft, we're okay, which it is. So we take the sales, less the theft. I did it the other way, by the way, for those of you who weren't here in the review. So you can take a look at that too, right? Whichever one you want to do, I don't care. All right, so what do we want on this thing, you guys? What was the sales again? 80,000? Of course, that goes up. We don't know the cost yet. And what's the theft? 2,000? All right, everybody? So now where are we at? I'd like to know the ending inventory at cost. I already know it at retail, though. What is it at retail? 88.4 less 80 less 2, 6,400. Now that's the new layer of the ending inventory, right? So here's the old layer. Be sure and do that. Don't leave that out. It's the old layer. This is the new layer. Okay? So what do you want to do? That 6,400 should be at what rate? 75%. Absolutely. So what is that for the ending inventory? 4,000. Okay? Now that's the new layer, 4,800, and the old layer is 14. So give me the total ending inventory. 14 plus 4,800, right? Everybody agree with that? 14 plus 4,800, 18,800, and we've got our ending inventory. Now be careful. Give me cost of goods sold. What do you need to do to get cost of goods sold? Cost of goods sold plus theft, right? Is how much? What do you need to do? It's not 66,300 less 18,800, is it?
80,300.
Oh, how much do we have available? 80,300, right? Which is what? Our 14 we started with plus our 66,300 is 80,300 available. Take away the 18,800 you no longer have, and what do you get? Cost of goods sold. What's 80,300 less 18,800? 61.5.
Could you also do the 66,300 subtract
You
out
could
the ending inventory?
take away the 4,800?
Yeah.
Or, well,
Because I got the same answer. I
You
don't
could-
know if it's going to do that every time. That's the weird.
yeah, because you kept the 14 in this. Yes, yes. If you're not depleting the inventory, that works fine. Yeah. If you deplete the beginning inventory, it wouldn't work, right? If you deplete the beginning inventory, it's probably better to do the way I did earlier and add them all together. Right? Just lower it. Just keep it straight. Okay? So there's 3 of them, huh? Everybody good? Sort of?
Can you explain the last part again?
Okay, all we did, I'm keeping this beginning inventory separate,
Yeah.
right? That's still there. And what I said was, here's what I bought, right, at retail and at cost, and here's the relationship between them. And then I took away the sales, and because the sales and theft are less than what I had added, what my addition was here, when I took those away, I still have some left, so that's my new layer. If this had been a negative number, that would have dipped into this one up here. You can still do it that way, but now I have less ending inventory, right, guys? So make sure you keep that straight. So this 6,400, the old layer of 20,000 is at 70% cost to retail. The new layer of 6,400 is at 75%, and so that's 4,800. Total inventory is 14 plus 4,008 is 18,800. The total cost that was available is still 80,300, right? 80,300. It's the same, right? So if you have 80,300 available and your ending inventory is 18,800, you can just subtract the 18,800 from the 83,000, and you will get 80,300 less 18,800, you get 61,500. Did that do it? Might be easier to just do it that way, to think about it that way. What's the total amount that we got there? That help? Got 2 layers now.
What I'm thinking about is that 80,300. I mean, we didn't have it on this side of the calculation.
Oh, well, it's still here. It says 14 plus the 66.3 is the 80,008. Here's, I started with this, then I added this, so it's the 80,008. Put those two together, it's the 80,008. Take away the 18,800, and you got 61,500 sold. It's still there, I just didn't add them together. If you look at the video, the other way I did it was before I subtracted anything, I added the 14 to the 66.3 and got 80,008. I added the 20 to the 88.4 and got 100 and, what did I get? 108.4, which is up there. There it is. I got these two numbers, right? And then I took the sales away from it. That makes sense? But you still have to, then when you get your ending inventory, it would include this beginning plus what was added. So either way, it works out the same. Did I get there?
So the 14 plus the 66,300, that would be 8,300.
Yeah, you got it. 14 and 66.3 is the 80,300. And the 20,000 plus the 88.4 is the 108.4 up there. Okay? And really the 108.4 is here too if you take the 110 less the 1,600. Right? It's there too. All the numbers end up on both of them, or on all three of them. A little mind-boggling. Just too many different variations. Okay, let's try one that is dollar value LIFO retail. Yeah, we could use 924. Maybe 924 and 925 both. That's a good idea. Okay. So what's different with this? Let's get rid of this little page thing. Whoops. Okay. So yeah, let's try 924. You assemble the following information for Seneca Department Store. It continues in the inventory under the dollar value LIFO method. And you don't want to keep track of individual items, so you're just doing it in total, right guys? So they have their inventory at January 1st, 2014, their purchases and the increase in the price level. So it's real straightforward. Compute the inventory at December 31st, assuming the inventory at retail is 294 and 365. So we got two different ones. Okay. So I've got my inventory, I've got my purchases, and then I've got a change in price level. So we're going to use 109%, right? 1.09. What would you do with this thing? So now what we've got is dollar value retail.
Which problem is this story?
924.
This one is exercise 924. Okay, we'll try that. What do you do? We have a beginning inventory, which is base, I guess. Must have been their base year, huh? They just started it, I guess. Okay. So their base inventory their beginning inventory. So the 2014 inventory, or end of 2013. So the 2013 inventory, right? What do they have? That's their base year, I guess. I didn't say anything else in the problem, so it must be. What do they have? Cost and retail. And the index at that date is 100, right? It's base. Everybody agree? Index would be 100 at the base. Okay. 1.0. All right. So I had 216 and 300. Okay. Thing to remember when you're doing dollar value LIFO is adjust for the change in purchasing power first. Get the new layer at retail first, right? And then convert using your cost to retail. Convert to the cost, okay? So let's do that first, okay? What's the percentage at the beginning here, by the way? 216 divided by 300, what is it? 72%, okay. So for my base inventory, it's 72%, isn't it? Everybody agree? What it is? So then what happens? I purchase how much?
64.
And that'd be less purchase returns and allowances, less purchase discounts, plus trade in, all that stuff, right? Okay, so it's my net purchases. 364.8 is the cost. And retail, 480,000. So any new layer is going to be at what percent? Oh, 364.8 divided by 480, I guess, huh? How much is that for the stuff I added? 76%. I don't know why they keep having their cost of retail go up. It's horrible business, but okay. All right. Might be intentional, but might not be too. So now what do you want to do? That's all they gave us in the 109 increase. Oh, they told us 294.3. So ending retail would be 294.3, but I want it base 2014. Let's go to base dollars in 2014. Okay, can you give me base dollars in 2014? What is it on the year-end dollars in 2014? 294.3? This is A, right? This is for A. 294.3 is year-end retail. What are you going to do to get base at that time? Divided by what, everybody? 1.09, because I had 9% inflation, right? So 109 is the index at that time, okay? So what does that give me? That's going to give me my base retail, isn't it? What's the base? What's that going to be? Well below 300, obviously. What is that? 270,000 even. Okay, that's what I have for my layer, right? It's a negative layer, you guys. I don't have the beginning inventory anymore, all of it, do I? I have 30,000 less. You can take 30,000 times 72% and subtract it from 216 if you want. What makes more sense is, of course, is to say that doesn't exist anymore, but these are at 72% because it's not 2014 stuff. That's from the 2013 layer, isn't it? And I am not going to reinflate it because it's from the 2013 layer. What's the index for 2013? 1.0, so it's 270 times 1.0, right? It's the base layer. Times what? 72%. So what's 270 times 72%? 4 again, you could have taken the 30,000 reduction in the base layer times 72% and subtract that from 216, and you know what you'll get? 194.4. So here's my new inventory at 2014. There's 2013, there's 2014. Okay? Is that what the answer said in the book? Answer keys. Make sure I don't screw something up. Did that work? Did you find it? Our phones are amazingly small. We tried to make a bigger one and then people sat on it.
Yeah, that's what they have.
Okay, good. All right. So make sure I didn't screw up the massive one. No logic either one. Let's try B. B is exactly the same thing, only they have a different ending inventory, right, guys? Exactly the same thing with a different ending inventory. Okay, so what should we do here? We have the 2013, same as this, base, cost, retail. Okay, it's 216,000 at cost, that's where we started, and 300,000 at retail, and we calculated that that's 72%. We are going to keep that layer if we add to it, right? Last time we depleted it, I think this one looks like we're going to add to it, doesn't it? What's my purchase? Exactly the same as this. I can use that. It's 76%, right? So any new layer is going to have what? It's going to be a 76%, right? Well, what am I also going to have to do to the new layer? Reinflate it at the 109, okay? So let's see if we have a new layer or not. What do we have at year-end retail? In part B?
365.
365, 150. First, we want to deflate that, right? Okay, for inflation. Divide it by 1.09, and what do you get? These are base now, right? Base. Base. It's the same as we were doing before with dollar value LIFO in the last chapter. So I wanted you to get it down there, right? So how much is that? They always make them work out. They must work the problems backwards. Huh? Okay, so 335,000. So what I've got in base dollars at 2014 is what? These are still base, but remember this is at 100%, 1.0. This is 1.09, right? So in the base dollars, what do we have? 335,000, whoops, retail, come on, keep. 335,000, right? You guys good? Remember, we're still in retail, we haven't converted yet. So do you have a new layer? Yes. What's the new layer? In base dollars. Retail. I had 300 and now I have 335. What's the new layer? 35,000. What do you want to do to that layer? Build it back up at what? 1.09, right? So we deflated at 1.09 and then we reinflate. Right, guys? It's like we did with dollar value LIFO. 1.09. And what this is going to give me is my new layer at year-end prices. New layer, year-end retail. How much is that? $35,000 times 1.09. 38150. All right, that's at retail, and you'd really like to get that back to what? Cost. What's the cost percentage? 76 on the new layer. I have the old one at 72. I have the new one at 76. Take 0.76 times that. 38,150, and that will be the cost of the new layer. How much is that? 28,994. Okay, my ending inventory at 2014 on my financial statements. What is it? 216 from my base layer plus my new layer of 28,994. What do you get?
$244,994.
Okay. And what's my cost of goods sold? Not bad, you guys. Do this. Inventory. What was my beginning inventory on my financial statements? 260. What were my purchases at cost? 364.80. What's my ending inventory? Cost of goods sold. 216 plus 364.8 less 244,944 must be what I don't have anymore, which must be the cost of goods sold. Yes. You can always go back to the T count, can't you? Make sure you're doing cost with cost. Or retail with retail. Right. Don't mix them. Like I just tried to do, putting it on top of it. So that cost of goods sold that would go in here is how much? It's 216 plus 364.8 plus 244,994.
335,806.
If I ask for something like that, you guys can do it. Okay? There we go. Well, that was fun, huh? Let's keep going. Let's do some more stuff. While we're doing this, let's go back again. We did this in the review, but I'll do it again, you guys. Obviously, everybody gets here. And we'll do another example of all of it. And if you want to ask anything about the earlier, what we did last time, that's obviously free to do that. Yeah, questions? Take a look on page 493. Special items related to retail. Okay. So really what it comes down to with each of these things is what changes your cost and what changes your retail. And the reason we care is cost divided by the retail is my cost to retail percentage, right? So what about, well, what if we put in beginning inventory? Guess what? Yes. Yes, I want them both, of course, right? No matter which method I'm using. I'll separate it if it's going to be lifelike, but I want them all done. What about purchases? Yes. Yes. They affect both, right? I'll have a cost of it, and then I'll have a retail sales price, okay? How about freight in? By the way, what about freight out? I don't care. It doesn't change my sales price, it doesn't change my cost. It has nothing to do with inventory or cost of goods sold, right? It's an operating expense. So if they do that to you, they pull freight out, just plug it in there, what are you going to do with it? Ignore it. I've seen problems like that. Okay? All right, so now how about this one? It affects the cost. We just did it, didn't we? Does it affect the retail sales price? No. Okay? So we wouldn't put it there. All right. So then what do we have next? Take a look at that list there. We did freight in. What else do we have there? Markups. And markups, less markup cancellations. What do you think? Does it change the cost of what you paid to buy it? No, you're just changing your sales price. So nothing here, and yes. Okay, I guess I should say. Okay. All right? Like Knox. No. What's next? Markdowns? And less markdown cancellations? And like I told you several times now, probably. Net amount, right? I wouldn't handle them separately while we're at it, both down. If you mark it up and you mark it down, just take the difference. It's a net, right? Same with markdowns, you mark it down in the back out, just take the difference. Markdowns, does it change the cost? No. Does it change the retail? Yes. So when I say yes, it's changing the percentages, right? When I say yes in one place and not the other, it's changing the percentages. Everybody good? Okay, so it might not be very much if you put it in both places. Okay, so, all right, what else do we have?
Well, just to clarify, the markdown retail, that's always negative, right? That's always.
Yes, you bet. Markdown is just I'm lowering the price. Markup is just I'm raising the price
Just to clarify.
from my normal, right? Got it. What else do we have? Purchase discounts? In fact, what did they group? Purchase discounts
And allowances.
and allowances they put together. And then they put purchase returns separately. Why? Well, think about what happens with a return. You get the inventory back, right? Does that affect the cost? Or I'm sorry, you return the inventory to them, purchase returns. You return the inventory to them. Does that change what your total cost of inventory was? Yeah. So, yes. Would you then adjust your sales price if you don't have those goods available for sale? Yes. So yes in both cases. All right, purchase discounts and allowance. The discount doesn't affect your sales price, does it? What does it affect? The cost. So it changed the cost. Okay. How about the allowance? Now the allowance is different too because you don't return the goods, you just get a reduction because of quality or something, right? So it may not affect your sales price, probably not, but it affects your cost. So those two go together. Make sense? What else do we have? How about sales? Sales don't have anything to do with cost of retail, right? Sales just reduces your ending inventory. It doesn't change what's available. Remember, cost of retail is based on what's available at cost of retail. So how about a sales return?
Yeah, affect the sales, right?
Sales return does what?
Does it not affect the sales? Right?
That affects the sales.
Yeah.
Does it affect your inventory? Yeah, it comes back in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I think on a sales return, and the author didn't say this, it's the one that they didn't agree with us on. I think on sales returns, it's yes and yes. What about sales discounts? Sales allowances? No, that's going down under sales, right? Okay. What about a theft loss? We have a theft loss. That would be, there's a normal shortage. This gets kind of hard. I won't give it all based on one problem, but there one might show up, right? Just like we just did theft, right? The normal shortage, we decided that theft was a normal shortage, so what happens with the theft? No, where does it go?
Sales.
Sales. Goes with sales. In fact, where did the sales discounts go? If you had it. Sales discounts and sales allowances. With sales. Okay? Down at the bottom. Okay? All right? How about an abnormal shortage? Extremely material. Now what would you do? Yes. Yes. Okay? I would back up above. Okay? I won't do that to you, but just so you know what they're talking about when you read this. Okay?
Okay. You said purchase returns affects sales.
Yeah, because remember when you purchased it, it affected both. So if you return it, you've got to take it out of both.
Well, so you already sold it, right? So,
but it's coming back.
I mean, this is like something that you bought, not,
You bought it. Yeah, you bought it. Yes, you bought it. I apologize. You bought it, so it went out. Now it's coming back in. So it would adjust. Probably wouldn't have a material effect, but it adjusts.
what I'm saying, you bought it, then you take it out.
Yeah.
This purchase is for
When-
sales.
Yeah, it's in your sales, right? I'm sorry, it's in your purchases. It's in your purchases number, but you don't want it there anymore if you returned it. But you don't just take it out of the cost. See, on the discounts and allowances, you take it out of the cost, but not out of the retail,
Yeah, but this.
because they don't change your sales price. Purchase returns changes how much you have available at cost and how much you have available at retail, because you just changed your purchases. Remember, your purchases came in at cost and at retail. So if it comes back, you need to bring it back in. Should you put the goods that should you take the goods that you returned out of your inventory? Yes. Should you take it out of the retail sales price that's available? Yeah, because you don't have it available anymore. Otherwise, you're changing your percentage. Why is that not true on the discounts and allowances here? Why is that different? Because you don't change your retail sales price. You don't change how much is available even, right? You just change what it cost you, right? It's the physical flow of the goods. If I return the goods, I no longer have them available to sell. So it affects both. Okay? The cost and the retail. If I just get a price reduction, which is the discount or the allowance, it only affects my cost. I still have them available to sell. Let's figure it out. The sales side sort of works the same way, right? Makes sense? If my customer delivers something back to me, I put it back in inventory. So I'd use it. What if I give my customer a discount or an allowance? I don't put it back in inventory. So it only adjusts the sales. Okay? This stuff is just too hard at the end of the semester. That's why that's just one chapter for this last quiz. Just some good stuff on it. Okay, well, let's see. Let's do another example. Does anybody have any questions on any particular problem that you've been working, something that's bugging you? Can we find another, you want to do another example? We do this up from the first half of the chapter if you want. Would that be better? Or to do another example of retail inventory? At the beginning, getting brain fried. You want to do a lower cost or market if you will, something like that. Did we do 9-2? Let's try exercise 93. Do that. Did everybody get my email that I'm leaving early? Go to dinner with a bunch of economists? There's something wrong with that. Anyway, nah, that'll be fine. These people. Going to the Fed again, same place. So we're going to take a look at 9.3. Let's take an item. Just do the first one, 1320. What would you do with that? They want you to determine the amount of the whole inventory. Let's do 1320. Page 5%. What do you want to do? How would you set it up? The item number, maybe? 1320. The cost. Keep the cost separate from market. And then we're going to have 3 measures of market, right guys? So what's the cost? Good. If I'm going to do it at cost, I take the quantity, which is 1,200 times 320, and I'm done. Okay? So my 3 different methods of doing market are what? And I'm going to take the ones in the middle.
Net realizable value.
Net realizable value. And what is net realizable value? Sales price less cost to complete the sale, deliver the product, right? So in this case, they called it cost of completion and disposal, right? Okay, fine. And then what's another one?
Replacement cost.
Replacement. What did it cost me now to replace it? So if the market value is going way down, the replacement cost might be less than that net realizable value. Does that make sense? Yeah. It could even be less than the other one. What is the other one? Okay.
Net realizable value, normal profit.
Minus normal profit. Yeah. And this is kind of a measure of what? What you can think about it. Right, sales price less the selling disposal cost, right? Less the normal profit must be what? You know, sales less something is my normal profit. Gross profit is the normal profit, yeah. So what's the difference between sales and normal profit? A measure cost. It's measure cost of goods sold. What cost of goods sold would normally be, right? So can you imagine? Oh, by the way, they say the net realizable value is the ceiling, and the net realizable value less than normal profit is the floor. Well, yeah, because you can't go above net realizable value. Why not? Because net realizable value minus normal profit is less, right? You can't go above it. If the replacement cost was above it, you'd use net realizable value. They're ordered. Why do they have the floor be net realizable value minus normal profit? Because you can't go below it, right? Okay, if replacement is below it, it's going to be the middle one, and you'll take it. So ceiling and floor don't really mean anything. That's all that is. Okay, so what would you do for net realizable value for that first one? Estimated selling price $4.50, less cost of disposal of 35 cents. What is it?
415.
This is $4.50. Just like that. Then what? Take away the normal profit of $1.25, and what do you have? $2.90, is that what that is?
Yeah.
That's this one, isn't it? Okay, and what's replacement? $3. Ta-da. Which one of those is in the middle? $4.15, $3, or $2.90? Notice how important it is to keep these separate from the cost. You put that cost when you go to save. Right? Trying to figure out what's in the middle with 4. Don't do that. Which one's in the middle? Then you ask yourself, is cost lower or is market lower? Market is lower. It'll be $3. And then what would you do? Take that $3 times the units. How many units is it? 1,200. Equals what for the inventory?
3,600.
3,600, and you've done that item. Okay? Let's try another one. Let's just do the next one, 1333. Real quickly. What's the cost, everybody? $2.70. Okay? What's the net realizable value? $3.50 less 50 cents is $3. What's the net realizable value less normal profit? $3 less another 50 cents, $2.50. Are you right? What's the replacement cost? $2.30. Now what's in the middle? $2.50. And what am I comparing the $2.50 to? The cost is $2.70. Net realizable value less normal profit, our proxy for market here, we're using for market, is $2.50. What do you think? I think $2.50 is less. I'll use it. Times what? 900 units? What's that, you guys? 2250. Okay, let's do a third one. 1426. All right, what's the cost? What's the net realizable value? $5 less 40 cents? What's the replacement? What's the net realizable value, which is 460 minus the normal profit? Normal profit's a buck, so what's that? 360. Is that right? So which one's in the middle? 37. Which one's lower? 450 or 37? 37. So again, I take this times what? The quantity I had is 800. How much is that? 2960. You know, so far, if I did it by specific item or I did it in total, would make no difference, huh? Why? We're always going for market, yes, there's no cost, so there's no averaging out. You'd have to have some other cost to have it work that way. Okay, all right, let's try another one. What do we got? 1426, 1437. What's cost? 360? No, this is going to go the same way. I don't like that. I want one where cost is lower. Which one would cost be lower on? Maybe the last one? So I can demonstrate what'll happen. Okay. 1626, what do we have for cost? 470? That looks like it might work. 470 on the very last one, 1626. Okay. Cost to replace is 520. Okay. Sales price is $6 less the cost of disposal is 50 cents is 550. Is that right? Net realizable value? Yeah, this is going to work. Everybody agree with that? And take away the normal profit of $1, and what do you have over here? 450. But we're going to take the one in the middle, which is 520. Now I'm going to compare 470 to 520. Which one's lower? 470. Everybody good? Okay, how many units? 1,000. Which should be 4,700. Okay, now if I do specific identification like this, right? Each individual item. Now I've only got one that's where cost is less. It'll still work, right? What would I get for my total inventory? $3,600 plus 2,250 plus 2,960 plus 4,700. Let's say that was all the inventory, right? Then the rest of the problem's not there.
13,510.
13,510. Okay. Tell me what would happen if you compared cost in total for these inventory items to market in total for these inventory items. Calculate that. Go wake you up a little bit. Calculate. Give me cost in total. You're going to compare total cost. This is all my inventory. I only have 4 inventory items. That's it. And those are the quantities. Tell me what the inventory would be at cost only. Tell me what the inventory would be at market only. And this is using the lower of cost or market, right? But if we use the total inventory, we're going to be comparing those two, right? Okay, total cost, total market. So what would you do? Quantity times the cost, quantity times the market. We'd still select the market that's in the middle the same way. So here's your cost, here's your market. 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 Okay, so you got to calculate what the inventory would be in total under cost, what the inventory would be in total under market. Wow, and then see which one's lower. It's going to be market, and cost is only lower ones. Okay, but how's that market number going to compare to this 13,510? What'll happen? Because once market was more than cost, right? So it's going to net out, average out. Get that? How are you doing?
The market is lower.
So what, yeah, will be. How much is the cost? How much is the market? Cost, you take 320 times 1,200, right?
Yeah,
You take 270 times 900. You take 450 times 800, and 470 times 1,000. And you add them all up.
that's it.
How much?
14,000, that's it.
570.
Yeah.
Okay, there's cost. Did it on the total inventory now, right? You could do it that way if you want, right? Or you could do each individual item. What's market? How much?
No, so 14,010.
14,010.
Yeah.
Ah. And then what happens if you do each individual item? Here you offset that one, didn't you? That 520 compared to the 470. That's the offset. $1,000 times or $1 times 1,000. That's the offset that you got. See that? Okay. So what's this one? 13,510. Okay. Different. I'm sorry. It's different between 470 and 520. 50-cent offset. 50 cents on 1,000 units is a $500 difference, and that's what caused the $500 difference. So if you saw a multiple choice question that said, which one is more likely to give you a lower inventory, what would you say? Identifying each specific one is more likely to. It won't always. What if cost is always more than market? It's the same. Got the idea? What if market is always lower than cost? It's the same, but it's more likely to because you get that offset. What if you're doing it by categories? You have 4 categories of inventory. You have a whole bunch of items, 300 items, and it's in 4 different categories. Well, what would that do? It would tend to give you a lower estimate than doing what? The entire inventory. But it would give you a higher estimate than doing each individual one, right? This is moving that direction. The way you could think about it is, I've got cost, total, market, total, and over here I have cost or market on each item, This will tend to give me a lower number than this one would, right? Either that or they're the same, right? Okay, if market's less than cost, we take the market, and on specific items, they tend to be lower with it, because they offset in the market and total. How about if it's market by category of inventory? It's somewhere in between these two, isn't it? Right? So it's less than market in total, going this way, but it's more than cost of each item going the other way. Okay? Cost of market of each item. That's kind of fun stuff, huh? Okay. So, want to do a loss of inventory? We can do a purchase commitment entry. Let's do the goods destroyed. Destroyed 913. Put that down for. Let's do 913. Exercise 9. It's a long time. There we go. Tim Legler requires an estimate of the cost of goods sold lost by a fire on March 9th. Merchandise at the beginning was $38,000. You could just do this. Or you can use a formula approach, I don't know, table, whatever. What was beginning inventory? 38 grand? Okay. Purchases were 72. Freight in was 3,400. I don't know, I think freight in is part of it, don't you? So I'm going to have 72,000 and 2,400. Can you tell me what's available? That was everything, wasn't it? Oh, I take it back.
3,400.
Trade-in was 3,400. 3,400, not 2,400.
You have purchase returns.
What's 2,400? I better pick that up too. Purchase returns and allowances, what does that do to your cost? Reduces it, so that's 2,400 over here, right? Purchase returns and allowances. You guys with me on this? Does everybody agree? My beginning inventory plus my purchases plus my freight in less my returns and allowances, boom. And less my discounts if I had any they didn't give you if you didn't think.
Is that 92, the purchases?
Purchases 72. Started with 38, bought 72. Freight in is 3,400. Return and allowance is 2,400. So what's available?
81.
Is that total 81?
Wait, no.
That doesn't sound right. 38 plus 72 is 110. 111. There we go. Something wrong. Okay? 111 is available. Everything's available. Either we still have it or we don't. Right? Okay. They say goods costing $10,900 were undamaged. Remaining goods were destroyed. Sales are 100,000. Okay, sales are 100,000, and there's 10,900 left. All right. Ending inventory is 10,900. So something happened to the difference between 111 and 10,900, right? What are the two things that happened? Theft and cost of goods sold. You got it. If I can calculate the cost of goods sold, I know the theft, right? It's the difference, which is $100,100.
So theft and fire the same thing?
Oh, no, it's not her. I don't think so, but you treat it the same way. If there's a theft, it'd be the same. Yeah, sorry. It's a fire. Calculations the same. It's gone. Right, it's a loss. Okay? Might be different for your insurance company. Might have theft, not fire, or vice versa. Yeah. Okay. Now what? Let's figure out what cost of goods sold is. Sales. Less cost of goods sold is gross profit. Am I right? What's sales?
133.
This 100,000 is 100% of itself. Would you guys agree with that? Funny guy. Okay? What did they give me? They give me the cost percentage or the gross profit percentage? Or the market? What did they give me?
33.3 above.
That's where the markup is.
It's 33.3 above cost. Oh, I better be careful here, huh? That's a markup, isn't it? So which one of these is the 100%? Cost of goods sold is 100. What's the gross profit? 33.33%. True, guys? So what's sales relative to cost? 133.33%. It's something I got harder to do because they're mixing this markup and margin. Okay? It's 33.33% of cost, right? So if I know 100,000 is 133% of cost, how would you find out what cost is? Well, I take 100 and divide it by 1.333 forever. You know what you think? So put in a bunch of threes. And what do you get for your cost of goods sold? 1.333. 75. You got it. Gross profit's 25. In fact, we could have converted this if we wanted to. You can convert this to 100% and this to whatever it have to be and this to whatever it have to be, and you get the 25%, 75% that way too. Ah, but anyway, I now know that my cost of goods sold is 75,000. I do not know what my fire loss was. How much is my fire loss? Seeing as $100,100 is missing. 25,100. You won't miss these points, will you guys? Are we good? They had a second part, didn't they? Or did they? Oh, assume the gross profit is 33.33% of sales. All right. They did it the other way. We're going to do exactly the same thing, but we're going to assume gross profit is based on sales. Okay? So my inventory, what did I start with? Beginning inventory, plus my purchases, plus my freight in, everything's the same, isn't it? Less my returns and allowances. What did all that total to? 111. So I wouldn't redo it all, I know it, right? Everybody agree with that? It's 111. Okay, what's my ending inventory? 10.9. If I knew my cost of goods sold, I could calculate my fire loss. You guys agree with that? Only this time, what's the deal? Sales, cost of goods sold, gross profit. Now, sales are 100% of themselves, and the gross profit is 33.33% of the sales. See the difference? So what's cost of goods sold? 66.23%. True? What do I know? The sales is 100,000, right, guys? So what's 2/3 of it? 66,667. Everybody agree with that? 33,333. We're good, aren't we? Everybody staying with me? So the first one was a what, everybody? Markup. See how they just slid that in there on you? What's this one? Margin. Right? Markup and margin. Big difference. Okay? So what do I do? Cost of goods sold is 66,667. What's the fire loss? It's the $100,100 less 66,667, isn't it? How much is that? Because the inventory went down by $100,100. You could subtract what cost of goods sold is, the 66,667, and you would get the difference, which is 333, 433. All right, because it's 100 extra. Make that. I do it. Good, guys. You know, if we did instead. No, there's a fire on the next one, 914. Insurance claim on 915. Another fire one. Authors like this stuff. I'll give you some of them too. Compute the ending inventory on 917. Do that one too. Do 917. You know, and you know, if it's percent of sales, if it's a percent of cost, and they want you to do the ending inventory. If you know what's available, you know what you sold, you can take the cost to get sold away from available, and you've got your ending, right? Do that. Do exercise 917. Just another type of thing. And this is useful. It's just easy. It's kind of nice. That's something that's useful. This is really quick, you guys. Really easy. didn't it? Calculate the cost of goods sold. You're there. Aren't you? 4 different ways. Let's set it up something like that. Did I get him? Not too bad. You on the first one. 45% of sales. So sales is 100% of itself. Gross profit is 45%. This is 55%. Is that what you did on the first one? Okay. On 8. All right. And what else do I know? I know my sales are how much? 2.5 million? 2,500,000. All you got to know is what 55% of it is, right? What's 55% of 2,500,000? What did you get for that one?
1,175,000.
1,375. And then if you want, you could take 45% of it and, subtract 2,500 less than 1,375 to make sure it's the same number. But you don't have to. The cost of goods sold is what? 1,375. Right? Whoops. 375. And what do we have? 2,000,001. We subtract 1,375,000. What'd you get, guys?
765.
How many do you have that? Pretty good. It's not bad, is it? Okay? And we'll just keep doing that, won't we? Okay? Except this will change, and this will change. What's on the second one? It says gross profit is 60% of cost. So now we're going to make cost 100%. We're going to make gross profit 60%. And we're going to make this 160%. So we're going to have to divide 1.6 into it, aren't we? 1.6 into what? The 2,500,000. So they have 2,500,000, and that's 160% of cost. You can just divide 1.6 in there, right? Some number times 1.6 is that. So what's that number?
1,565.
All right, that's it. Then you take your 15625 away from the 22,100,000. What do you get?
537.
How many of you have that one? Fewer? Ah, the markup gotcha. This is a markup. This is a margin. Right, gang? Are we good? What else do we need to do? Gross profit is 35% of sales. Sales are 100% of themselves. Gross profit is 35%. My cost of goods sold is going to be 65%. 2,000,005 times 65%. Huh? All right, guys? So what's my cost of goods sold? And therefore, what's my inventory? That's all you had to do. A little problem like this, and you should be thrilled if I give you this on a quiz, huh? Thank you. Thank you. What's 65% of 2,000,005?
1625.
1,625,000. What's the ending inventory?
475.
It's just 2,000,001 less 1,625, right, guys? Yeah. Okay, that's C. Woo. Okay, let's do D over here. D. All right. It says gross profit is 25% of cost. 100% for cost, 25% for gross profit, 125% sales prices, right, of gross profit. Okay, and or rather of cost. 2,000,005. So we take the same 2,000,005 and divide it by 1.25 this time, right? And that'll give me what my cost is. So how much does that cost? 2 million even, is it? Yeah. What's your ending inventory? 100,000. How many of you have that? Okay. Some of you, this one's another margin, right? This one's another margin. Percentages. So work on it. Work on it. Okay, go away.